Yep. Good afternoon. How you guys doing? Nice.
Clayton, when you look at Eastern Illinois, have you guys already started, putting in the game prep for this is what we're going to do for these guys, or is that still to come?
Well, with the game being 2 weeks out, definitely we start to definitely take a dive into Eastern Illinois, to their personnel, to their scheme, and who they are as a football team. The good thing is they do play Indiana State this coming up weekend, so we have a great opportunity to basically match what we saw from the summer and put it together. Looking forward to diving into that a little bit more next week.
Clayton, you mentioned obviously in the preseason about instilling your identity and the identity you want of this defense. How has that gone? Do you feel like the defense from an identity standpoint is where you want it 2 weeks out?
It's not completely there 2 weeks out, but we're definitely striving our best to get to where we want to be. The main thing we want to put on the football field is a group of guys that when they play on Saturdays that they can say that defense plays hard, they're flying to the football, they play for each other, they play for the team, and that's the identity aspect we want to get done. Things aren't going to be perfect schematically. Things aren't going to be perfect, every single snap. Coaches, we're going to do a great job of diving into our players on the next day and trying to correct that. But for the most part, we want to see a group of guys out there, 11 guys flying to the football, hitting people, trying to make plays and win the football game.
From a preparation standpoint, what makes your life what trait makes your life the most difficult in an opposing quarterback? Is it a guy who can throw it anywhere on the field, a guy who can run a bunch of different stuff? What's the one thing that you hate to see the most when you turn on the film?
Well, just watching tape, obviously the game has changed a ton, right? So right now, mobile quarterbacks that can do both. Those are the very difficult ones. And the defend, played against Malik Willis, the quarterback from Liberty last year, probably one of the better ones in the country. He was great at reading RPOs. He was great at when to run it, when to give it, when to throw a fade, when to throw a slant. He was awesome. So those guys it starts at that position, obviously, but those are the kind of guys that makes it really hard for anyone to defend.
Are y'all seeing more or less RPOs than you were the last, say 3 years ago? Has it increased or decreased?
To me, I feel like it's increased a little bit more, but obviously it depends on who you're playing and their style of play. RPOs is a real thing that most teams do. Now, obviously, you want to pack the box and stop the run, and if they have a nice receiver outside, and instead of those guys cracking safeties now, back in the day they used to crack safeties. Now they just run routes and keep the safety and the DB out. So it's a very nice scheme to have as an offensive system.
In terms of building the secondary and figuring out how you want to work it with personnel, where do you feel like you are in that process? Obviously, there were a ton of new guys who came in just to start the fall. Where do you feel like you are in that process? You feel like you're about on schedule where you wanted to be?
We're trying our best to get on schedule every single week. We're trying to identify the guys that we want to play in certain packages. Obviously, got a couple of guys out here and there. We had to adjust some things around. I won't say we're on our way to whenever we take the field on Saturday, we feel really good about who's going to play most of the snaps.
Are you moving guys around a lot from a depth chart standpoint, and are guys moving up and down a pretty fair amount?
I would say no. It's pretty set right now of the guys who we're anticipating to be on the field on Saturday. Just for example, some guys may get dinged up one day and then someone has to step up the next day. That's what I mean by kind of moving guys around. But for the most part, we feel good about the guys that's going to go out there and play on this first Saturday, next Saturday.
I wanted to ask about Marcellus Dial. Just kind of what has he been able to show y'all throughout camp and now into practices that has really just made him stand out?
Yep. One, he's taking a lot of reps. I think he's a tough guy who understands just the mentality to be at corner. Like I said, I think said a couple of weeks ago, he had a difficult day versus Jalen Brooks one day, but he continued to come back and battle back each snap. He has a great understanding of it's a next play mentality at corner. You got to be kind of forgetful, understand that you can have good plays and bad plays. And he has that in his repertoire, and I think that that's going to make him a good player. He's so young and he's mentally tough.
Clayton, with Cam Smith, I saw him kind of run around without a boot today. But is there a day over the next week and a half that you say he's got to practice by then to play in game one?
Just like most injuries, I mean, you kind of hope that any player can practice Tuesday and Wednesday. Some guys may be dinged up on a Tuesday, but Wednesday, you at least want to get some Wednesday work in, Thursday work. That to me, it's always been Wednesday, not just talking about Cam, but for the most part, it's been at least some of the Wednesday practice. and then we get you into Thursday and keep on going.
Clayton, just to clarify on Cam, do you guys feel like he might be in a position to play the opener, or is it just kind of day by day right now?
It's day by day based on what our athletic trainer and our medical staff is telling us. Obviously, we're not the ones that can go out and say you are playing today, but obviously we want to do what's best for Cam and his interest and his future. But Cam wants to play. He's one of those guys. He don't care who you're playing and what time you're playing, but he definitely wants to play. So it's totally up to the medical staff.
I know we saw Carlins, I guess, last week was running with the first team nickel, it seemed like. I guess, is that still the case? And I guess just with that, what's he kind of giving you guys in that position right now?
Well, last week, I think Spalding was kind of dinged. So, like I said, every single day, we trying our best to put the best 11 on the football field. And I think that Carlins can be one of the best 11, depends on who's available or not. The thing with Carlins is he's a smart player. He understands a couple of positions. Right now, we're just working hard with him to try to make sure he gets back in shape. He missed a little bit of time, too. He's back up and running, though.
Now that you're out of the camp portion of the preseason, who are some of the guys that have really grown a lot since the beginning of camp to now and have really impressed you in that regard?
I will start up front like always. I would say the guy that's grown the most to me, besides some of the regular names, is I think Alex Huntley has now completely shown us that he has the ability to be a big guy that can move around and make plays up front and be a productive interior defensive lineman since Ricky's been out, unfortunately. The other guy is Mo Kaba. Mo Kaba has stepped up the past 10 days and had a good camp, along with him and Debo Williams. Those are the main three guys that pops out to my name right now. But that's a good question.
Now that Tyrese Ross has been able to be out there with you guys, what have you seen from him, and who else is sort of in that mix at safety besides RJ and Jalen?
Yep, Tyrese Ross right now has solidified himself as the 2 or 3 safety that's going to play. He missed a couple practices early in fall camp, so he's getting back in the groove. He's trying to get the rust knocked off. He's an old school safety. He's like a 1985 safety, Steve Atwater type of guy. He's going to come downhill and hit you. It's either hit or miss right now, but I think he's had two of our biggest hits the first 15 days of practice, and he's only practiced probably 5 or 6 days. So that says a lot about his want to come up and play. We got to do a better job with Tyrese of getting him understanding, getting him caught up to speed with our stuff. But we like Tyrese Ross. He's a great addition. Love what he brings to the defensive backfield. You guys will hear him in the stadium on Saturday for sure.
Wanted to follow up on Alex Huntley a little bit. Just obviously a guy that came in with some hype last year. What specifically have you seen in him, and is he a guy on that, especially in that interior defensive line, that's going to be able to see a lot of snaps early this season?
Yep. The most important thing with Alex is he's doing a great job of taking the coaching from Coach Lindsey, who he has those guys a big portion of the practice when it's not special teams, and they've just start their progression from the ground up, and he's taken the work on individual work that he has with Coach Lindsey into the team and group work. So I think those are signs of good players who especially a young player who can take the meeting room, from the meeting room to the individuals, to the group, to the team, and he's doing that. And I think that's what makes him a very good player. He'll have a really good future here. Like Boogie a lot. That's his nickname.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering, you mentioned we'd be likely to hear Ross in the stadium this week or next weekend. With a full capacity expected, are you expecting an advantage with the crowd noise and stuff like that? And in your experience, have you had an advantage in that way? Usually?
Absolutely. Home field advantage is a great thing. For us on defense, we have to get used to hand signals. As far as when the opponent offense is on the field, our crowd should be, up and hype. So for us, we have to be. Well, I'm used to home field. I'm used to the crowd noise. But as far as hearing him in the stands, meaning you're gonna hear some pads popping. That's what I mean by that. You're not gonna hear his voice. You're not gonna hear anyone's voice in that kind of stadium. But you're definitely gonna get a good feel for him popping pads, and that's what he brings to the table, and that's what we need as a football team.
Clayton, I assume you'll be on the field during game days?
Yes, I will be on the sideline, yep.
How will that – I'm not asking you to reveal state secrets on what the calls are going to be, but just how do you plan on communicating with the guys in the box? What's that communication like? And being able to also signal it into the guys, how does that kind of process work?
Yes, based on the rules, we can only have a certain amount of coaches that can do a certain amount of things on the sideline and in the box. So with that being said, it's just a normal operation. guys in the box that tell me what's in the huddle or what's on the field, and then I rip down the call, and then somebody is signaling in, and cross our fingers and make sure everybody executes what they're supposed to do, and then move it and do it about 85 times for about 3 hours. So it's a pretty cool process. I love it.
Clayton, week and a half out from the opener. At this point, from your assessment that you've been able to make so far, when you get into the game next Saturday, are there any positions in particular that you might rotate guys in and out to see how they respond that are maybe still battling for a particular spot?
Well, my philosophy personally, I know we'll definitely want to rotate guys, some guys who've earned the time. It's not going to be an opportunity to go out and try and see if you earn the time. You earn the time during training camp. So the guys who've earned the time will be the guys that are playing the game. And defensively, it's between 15 and 17 guys that normally that the coaches can look in their eye and say they trust them out on the field and make the calls and the checks and doing their job. That's what it's about. Defense is about doing your job, and up front doing your job. At linebacker, being aggressive, making checks, and the defensive backfield, we got to trust you. Your mistakes show up on the scoreboard in the defensive backfield. So it's all about trust, and those would be the most trusted guys would be the ones that play. Yep. Thank you. Y'all have a great one. Take care. Yep.